In this episode, Golden and I discuss the Netflix animated series 3 Below, Tales of Arcadia. Full speed ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 106. I'm your host, Oren Merton. I hope you're all healthy, well, keeping warm, and happy Hanukkah to those listeners who celebrate. 2 weeks ago on the Omega Beam, we talked about Trollhunters, Tales of Arcadia. That was the first Netflix animated series in Guillermo Del Toro's Tales of Arcadia animated universe. So this episode, we're going to talk about the second series in the Tales of Arcadia, called 3 Below. As usual, we keep spoilers to a minimum. So we go into enough details that we can have a real discussion, but not much more than you'd get out of the trailer. So with that said, let's get to it. I am here with Golden to talk about 3 Below, Tales of Arcadia, an animated series on Netflix that is in fact the second series in the Tales of Arcadia group of animated shows, sort of the Tales of Arcadia universe, I guess you'd say. We'd already talked about Trollhunters on the Omega Beam, and we really liked it. So, and I think we said in Trollhunters that we'd actually started by watching 3 Below, and then kind of watched part 3, which is Wizards, and then went back to Trollhunters. So we decided that we wanted to watch 3 Below again, just to sort of see it with fresh eyes and to see all the inside gags and the Easter eggs and the callbacks to Trollhunters that we wouldn't have gotten the first time we saw it, because we never saw Trollhunters. So what did you think now that we saw it after Trollhunters?
Well, I think that there were a lot more things that made sense.
Yeah.
There were a lot of gags that I think we missed the first time because of the fact that we hadn't seen the first one. And it was enjoyable.
It was.
Because since we didn't know those, going back and watching it for the second time was kind of like we were watching it for new.
Exactly. So, again, we're keeping spoilers to a minimum, but an example of this is I remember the first time we watched it, there was one moment where you see just one of the women, whom we have no idea who she is, and she's standing in a room with a bunch of babies and a monster. And it was just a quick flip, and you're just like, okay, that was kind of random. Why did we just see some random woman and babies and a monster? But of course, now having seen Trollhunters, we know that was Jim Lake Jr.'s mother, and the monster was a troll. And the babies also were part of the story of Trollhunters. And so everything makes sense. And it really did enhance our enjoyment of an already enjoyable series.
And Tales of Arcadia, just Trollhunters, Tales of Arcadia, was a lot of fun.
It was.
And this is just a different spin on it. Considering the cast, I was talking with you about this just before. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Rogue One meets Orphan Black meets Parks and Rec. Mm-hmm. And then you throw in a little Agent Carter, Guardians of the Galaxy, and maybe Paul, too.
There you go. Because it's got some great voice actors in it. Again, Trollhunters had a great voice cast. 3 Below has a great voice cast.
2 different actors that have voiced Megatron.
That's right. You pointed that out to me. Yeah. It's
fun to look at the cast and see what else they've also voiced.
It expanded the universe of Tales of Arcadia also in the way that Trollhunters was kind of fantasy. It was urban fantasy, took place in modern times, but involved, fantastical creatures. This one leans much more on sci-fi.
And the trolls in Arcadia, it's okay to feed them.
Yes. Those trolls
are good
you can
trolls.
Feed. And in this one, the plot is that aliens called Arcadians from across the galaxy have been deposed, and they're the parents of the king and queen in waiting, a boy named Krell and a girl named Aja. Their parents have been trying to think of how to. I guess we can just say it. It's not a spoiler to say that they were killed to
their energy.
Yes,
Their energy,
yes.
and so instead of having a heart, they have a core.
Yes,
So substitute anytime that they're talking about their core, it's their heart.
yes,
And as long as the core survives, you can bring that person back.
yes. So they needed to run away to escape the coup. And of course, they landed in Arcadia because that's exactly what our series is about.
And it's the two characters, the two main characters, basically a bodyguard and a pet.
Varvatos Vex, who always speaks of himself in the third person.
Not always.
Not always.
But it is rare that he does not. It actually looks like it's painful for him when he does not speak of himself in the third person.
Right. Because he's used to sort of this glory of battle and being a warrior. And when he talks about himself in the first person, that's when he's vulnerable. And you can tell he's very, very not comfortable with it. But at the same time, it also makes those moments much more poignant.
And you have this big, burly bodyguard who the computer has to basically assign a skin for them.
Right, so they can fit in on Earth.
Yeah, so they look different. And it doesn't know that it should make them all look like the same ethnicity, if they're going to be brother or sister or anything like that. So it just chooses what it thinks will work, what will kind of go under the radar.
Right.
And for Varvatos Bex, it just chooses this elderly gentleman who needs to use a cane to walk around.
Right.
And it actually does affect him actually moving too. So it's neat to see the character have to adjust to those.
And it is endlessly amusing that in his human skin, he still has his warrior strength.
But it's now limited.
Right. So he'll need to use a cane to walk, but then he can also move a car.
But just like most of us picking up something heavy, that might hurt your back. It does make for an interesting dynamic, the fact that there's this big burly guy stuck in this frail looking little body, and everything that comes out of his mouth is big and burly, and he's walking around with a cane and having back issues.
Exactly. And it's amusing because when he first got the skin, he was told it was of a senior citizen, and he loved it.
It was senior.
A senior, because he loved it. He was just thinking, senior, yeah. Didn't realize all the baggage that came with being a human when you're a senior. But I think that also goes to talk about how this show is able to include enough easy-to-understand gags for kids while also having some pretty deep subject material and be really engaging for adults as well.
Yeah, and you have Izadra eventually comes into the picture on Earth, and she never gets a skin.
Right.
Which is interesting. And then you also have, because the computer has made these different characters, and eventually the school's like, well, where's mom and dad? So Mother, the house, or the spaceship, decides to create basically mom blank and dad blank.
Right. They have robots that are blanks. They are later assigned by the mothership named Mother to do a job.
Yeah, and their screws are either a little too loose or a little too tight, because it always seems like they have inside jokes amongst themselves.
Yeah, it's a combination of the two robots are just screwy. They're obviously comic relief. And the fact that Mother says when she initialized them, all of her knowledge of human society was based on sort of old 1950s information that had been transmitted to Acaridian 5.
And we're not going to give away the names that they adopt.
No.
The names that they adopt are very, very nice.
They're very nice.
Very, very pertinent, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But this does give the other characters from Trollhunters a chance to evolve, or for some of them to come out of their shell.
Yeah, yeah, very much so. And I think it also gives this town of Arcadia, which has already gone through this troll experience, an opportunity to just show how...
I guess we should say Arcadia Oaks, so
Arcadia
it doesn't actually
Oaks,
get confused with the Arcadia, even though they are both suburbs of Los Angeles.
Right.
Arcadia Oaks and Arcadia.
Right. One exists and the other is in this cartoon.
One of them's a lot more beautiful.
Right. A lot more forested and everything. Yeah. So I love how the people of Arcadia are so accepting of Krell and Aja, who initially they think are more or less refugees from South America. From
Cantalopia.
Right, from Cantalopia. And the fact that Krell, whose skin is a Hispanic boy, has a very obvious Hispanic accent, helps to play that in. His sister, who is given a Caucasian skin, has an Eastern European accent. But everyone's just accepting. There's blended families in Arcadia Oaks, and it's fine by them. And it's really heartwarming that it does become, in a sense, a morality play of a town, of a school where they protect immigrants, where they're not. There are some.
They're inclusive,
right? They're very inclusive, and whenever people do spout anti-immigrant dogma that you might hear sort of on the news or something, they are quickly shut down.
Yeah, there are times where someone's talking about aliens, and Krell especially is like, Acaridians. We're not aliens. We're Acaridians.
Exactly. They're not quote unquote foreigners. They are from a place, and it's a place with a name. And I think that is one of the lessons in this series, that it's very obvious, but at the same time, it's blended into the story enough that you don't feel beat over the head with it.
And I think that going through Trollhunters and be accepting of these trolls,
right,
probably helped them to be like, oh, you're aliens? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
From another planet? Huh?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine.
Arcadia Oaks is used to weird things going down, and this is just another one.
Yeah. And apparently they're already on the radar with the military. The military already has their secret base of aliens, technology, and things like that. And the bounty hunters are about money.
Right.
They're about the credits or whatever the currency is.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of characters that are for comic relief. And some of the bounty hunters that you mentioned some are like serious threats and dangerous, and others are more played for laughs. But yeah, this is a show where there's laughs, there's really emotional beats that had me quite moved. And there's a lot of adventure. And the as you'd pointed out to me, the animation is just excellent.
Yeah, the animation, it has its own style. And even when you bring in now these Acaridians, they do have, since they are energy, they have an energy about them.
They do.
And they have a lot of fun playing with that, too.
They do. And there's a great house style in the sense that Trollhunters definitely maintains consistency in the characters of their look between Trollhunters and Three Below. I mean, the same characters look the same, but they do expand the universe visually and sound-wise as well. That the soundtrack to Three Below is much more sort of electronic than Trollhunters.
Of course, because you have DJ Kreb in the house.
You do. You have DJ Kreb. So.
And you have you do wonder when they created this. The creators must have already had at least the 3 story arcs.
Yes.
Overall, the Trollhunters, Tales of Arcadia, the Three Below, and Wizards.
Right.
Because there's a character that, because we've watched Wizards, when he shows up in the original series, we're like, oh, hey, yeah, we know a little bit more about him than he's displaying here. And then when he shows up again in Three Below,
right,
it's just a bit part. It's just a little flavoring. But you wonder if they also wanted people to go back and watch these multiple times.
Yeah, they're eminently watchable for repeated viewings because, exactly as you pointed out, we started at 2, then we went to 3, back to 1, and we caught more new things in 1. And I'm sure going back to 3 after we've seen 1 and 2
Which we probably will do before we talk about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we'll probably catch new things there. And I think that makes this universe of shows just really tightly bound in just a really creative and fun way.
And then there is a movie coming out next year.
They're coming out with a movie. Yeah, that's going to be exciting. That reminds me as well. When we talked about Trollhunters, we mentioned the fact that Guillermo Del Toro co-wrote a book called Trollhunters, and that the cartoon series was based on his book. But Three Below is a completely original Guillermo Del Toro creation just for Netflix. That this is not from a book.
And the movie is called Rise of the Titans.
Yeah, that sounds
And
fun.
I think that we're coming back with some of the other original Trollhunter cast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Although there's one Trollhunter that's not going to be part of the movie, and it makes me sad.
I'm sorry.
I know. Poor Anton Yelchin.
Yeah.
He will always be in our hearts.
His character will be there, but it's just
certainly.
not the same.
Yeah. And we mentioned in Trollhunters, and yes, his character does show up in Three Below, though very much a side part, just like the two Aja and Krell from Three Below showed up in Trollhunters, but very much a side part. But I think that's great how they link it all together. They make it a definite shared universe. And they also, I think, did a really good job of showing what elements of the Three Below story were happening in parallel with Trollhunters and which happened after Trollhunters happened.
Yeah, because there is overlap.
There is overlap.
There is overlap.
So it's just done really well. The writing is really good. We talked about the animation, the music. The writing is also really, really good. I mean, I know Trollhunters, I think I mentioned it, that it was up for a lot of awards. Very, very well-hailed show. I don't know.
It's a shame that it's not advertised more, or it's just not getting out there as much.
Yeah. I think it's relatively known among people who like animated series. So it hasn't broken out of its sort of genre, but there's some just such great entertainment. And we've already, of course, even before Trollhunters, we talked about the Dragon Prince on Netflix. Netflix is just really firing on all thrusters when it comes to fantastic animated series. They are just doing so well. And this is a wonderful addition to their already excellent library.
Yeah, there's one that you will probably not watch, but their reboot of She-Ra was a lot different too. And I actually have one of the people that told me about it was not a kid, not a girl, was a friend of mine very smart man, who watches the show and loves it. And so I started watching it. I haven't finished that one. But this one is just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Overall, it doesn't matter if you're a child. It doesn't matter if you're a teenager or an adult. It hits all the marks.
Absolutely. And this is definitely, just like Trollhunters was serial storytelling, this is definitely serial storytelling at one. It is divided nicely into arcs. That lets you, they're each just 24 minutes, 24 minutes. So you can easily catch a 3-episode arc or whatever at a time, and it's not like a huge, time sink. And that's a really good starting and stopping point for a nice little story beat. And the whole series is just 2 seasons, 13 episodes each. So there's not a ton of shows. And they're all really good. I mean, I don't think there's a loser in the bunch.
I can't think of an episode that I didn't like.
Yeah, they're all really, really good.
Can't think of a character that I didn't like.
Absolutely.
It's a really just a fun series. The first time I watched it, and I think the first time you watched it, you're missing things because of not knowing what came before.
Right.
So very strongly recommend that you watch them in order, and then maybe go back and watch them again.
And certainly if you have kids who like this kind of animation, you will want to watch it with them. It's just really good.
Yeah. And So we didn't talk about one set of characters that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned it briefly. The bounty hunters.
Yes, the bounty hunters.
So you have different types of bounty hunters even.
Mm-hmm.
You have the very serious bounty hunters. And then you have the bounty hunters that kind of look like mechanical rabbits.
They do.
And it seems like just like real rabbits.
It seems like they are mechanical rabbits.
They multiply.
Real fast, yeah.
Yeah, it's they have a lot of fun with what they can do.
Right.
With what you expect of, well, rabbits multiply. Well, let's just have our bounty hunters multiply too.
Right. Great sight gags for younger viewers who may not get some of the themes. Great themes for older viewers that can understand them and really benefit from them. And just great writing and story and animation for people of all ages who just enjoy good story.
And come on, who's not going to like a pet who shoots lasers out of its butt?
Well, thank you, Golden.
You're welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/106. If you liked this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. Full stop.